Hey, Fango fans. Well, today we are having a conversation that I'm obviously really looking forward to because we are discussing my new film, Love is the Monster. But I'm not going to be the one talking about it on my own. I'm joined by two very dear friends and two special people who are in my crazy story. Actor Christina Tonteri-Young and Tantu Sinisalo, coming from Finland to discuss our little Finnish mythology madness and to tell what we can at this stage when the movie just hit the market with our dear friends at Raven Banner. So, well, it's going to be a casual conversation, and they will probably tell you embarrassing things about me. So, well, welcome.
Thank
Be
you.
gentle, like I was, obviously. Uh,
About
let's-
as gentle as a hacksaw.
Oh, wow. Well, there you go. We started. That's it. We are done.
We're done.
Let's have a conversation about this journey we took together 2 years ago now. And the feeling you got when I reached out with the script. Starting with you, Christina.
Okay. Well, I was in LA at this point, and I read the script so quickly. Alex, you would not believe. I usually take a day or something to make it through a script, but this one I kind of devoured. And in a weird way, it felt like I was just watching the film when I read the script. Like it just flowed very nicely, and I was like looking at all the cool ways that people are going to be hurt without saying too much.
It's a family movie. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I know. And yeah, it read very well, and I was very excited to work with someone who is also part Finnish. So I felt like it was a kind of because of the mythology and everything, it was a return to my roots. And what better way to return to my roots than to do something extraordinarily creepy? I feel like I connected with myself on a deeper level as I found all these creepy sides of myself. So yeah, that was kind of cool. Yeah, very excited.
I heard that my character was originally scripted for somebody over 40, maybe 50.
Yeah.
So I'm very grateful that you took a look at my tape, and I hope I don't look over 40 yet. So I think we had a good discussion, and I was able to bring something original to me, to the story, and continue the discussion that was already going on about the character in the script. So yeah, I got really excited about this script because nobody has ever touched Finnish mythology ever before, and I think it's way freakier and scarier than anything I've ever encountered in my life. It's creepier than the Viking stuff, for sure.
Well, I mean, obviously, both of you brought something very special to this film. But before we delve more actually about shooting together, I want the audience to know more about you. So, can you give them a little bit of a rundown of your journey, the cliff notes of what took you to acting, and also, some highlights that obviously I know, but they might want to hear a lot about.
For sure. So I was born in Finland, and when I was about 7, I moved with my family. We moved to the United States, to New York, and I grew up there until I was about 10. At which point I went to Moscow, Russia, for 3.5, 4 years to the Bolshoi Ballet Academy. I was studying dance at the time, and then went back to the U.S. for a couple of years. Stopped dancing due to some injuries and stuff, decided that I still wanted to pursue a creative career. So had a really long think about that, went back to playing the piano for a little while, was really into music, but then kind of started reading more plays and getting more interested in film and being like, oh, well, I still want to tell visual stories in with language in a sense, because I was like, you can become a choreographer or do something like that, but it seemed like somehow theater and film still kind of called called to me. So I just started researching on how to get into an acting course or something, and I blatantly lied about my age to get into some acting courses in New York. They were like, "You must be 18," and I think I was like barely 16, and I was just like, "Yeah, I'm 18." And they were like, "Okay, she must really want this." Then went to university at the Guildhall School of Music and Drama in London for their acting BA, and then the rest is history. After that, pretty much got plucked out of university to do a show for Netflix, and then a couple of years after that, Alex found me stranded in LA. No, no,
I mean, it's not just some show for Netflix.
no. It was Warrior Nun, and it was very fun. We got 2 seasons, and it was the perfect introduction, I think, to being an actor. It was incredibly fun, incredible people, and just I think because the show and the kind of aftermath of the show have spanned quite a few years now, it felt like a very nice, embracing way to kind of let me out into the industry and not just kind of just like, oh, here's something and go, and you're on the roadside now. Like,
I got to watch a few of your episodes
Yeah.
before we met, and it was a very compelling show and
Yeah.
great performance, obviously.
Thank you.
But it was just very interesting, and it led you to me, and I'm so happy and
Yes,
grateful about
exactly.
it. Tatu, do you have an odd journey? Being a Finn is already an odd journey.
It is. It is. We exist. We exist, the Finns.
3 of us here.
Three of us here. It's a real country. Uh, um, well, I got picked up from school to do lead parts in Finnish films, in biopics about music legends. So I got really interested in film acting. And then when I graduated, I thought, why not? Why not go to LA? And I got nothing when I left. But in 3 months, I got myself a manager, first job offerings, and a scholarship to a school there. So that took me on a journey that eventually led me to you, because I think I met somebody in a party that then introduced me to you on a plane, and that's the reason I even got to do the self tape for this script. So I think I'm a huge believer in wherever you're from, just go for your dreams. Yeah, yeah.
And a pretty interesting performance that our horror fans are going to remember.
Yes, yes, I hope so. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I have well, I can't spoil anything, but I can't spoil anything.
But interestingly, you
Yeah.
will have seen, for many of you, you will have seen Tatu in something quite striking, dare I say.
Yeah,
What is that on the side of your head?
Yeah.
He was in Sisu, which
Sisu,
obviously
yeah.
was a big hit with horror fans worldwide and a great introduction to Finland. It's
Yeah.
great to introduce Finland in many ways because very few people know much about our country. Even in my line of work, I go around and I introduce myself as a French-Finnish director, but most often as a Finnish director. Main reason being it sparks questions. What is Finland? And we are all sharing this interesting heritage of being Finns and being in this industry and telling stories. So obviously in a movie like this, I was really keen to found collaborators like you guys to share our various take on the Finnish heritage, which again, for those who have never really been to Finland or heard of Finland, which I know it's many of you, we are the happiest nation in the world, apparently, eight years in a row or 7 years in a row. Finns still wonder how that's happening, but
Yeah.
we'll take your word for
absolutely.
it. But that aside, we are odd. We're just
Yeah.
odd. And what would you like to actually tell our fan about Finland?
It's a world where people still believe, I believe, on some level, the mythology that we encounter in this film. People still believe in it. It's real. It's scary. It has a control on people's lives, and it lives in the Finnish nature. It lives in the forest. It lives in the lakes and there are some scary stories that are told to children still nowadays, and I believe this film is going to reveal some of those.
Let's see. I mean, I can just kind of, excuse me, I can just kind of roll with that as well. Like, I want to encourage people to go and experience the nature for themselves, experience the silence. It really is magical. And the kind of white nights and the lack of sleep and how sometimes you have to have the airplane mask and you just cannot. And there's so many little, the smell of the summertime, like the smell of the mornings in the summer is incredible. And the golden light, even in the winters, the golden light, because it all day it feels like golden hour. So it just puts you in this different mind state, I think. Like I always realize when I go there in the winter that I think very clearly. Like my brain is suddenly very, very sharp. And in the summer it feels like it's exactly that midsummer feeling of anything could happen. So yeah, I would absolutely encourage everybody to go and experience the sauna and experience the lakes and not to be too afraid of the dark. In the few hours that you have it in the summer, interesting things can happen.
But you got to be prepared to be naked in the sauna. That I don't know if you know this, but you got to be naked in the sauna, and yeah, that's an experience for everybody.
Oh yes, I've taken many guests to Finland, and I think when they experience their first sauna and they arrive and they see that everybody's there, sitting butt naked, throwing water on the rocks, and suddenly they're, "Whew, this is really warm," and everybody's naked, and it's Finland that's a good way to kind of. I was going to say break the ice, but it's really a good way to be introduced to a rather casual nation. Actually, we are interesting for many reasons. I believe I'm half French, so I got a different perspective. But the ability to kind of explore different mindset, different tradition, different culture, different ways to be. Finns are often a few words, and then when you get to know them, the conversation can go wild. But the interesting thing is, with all this, there's actually an interesting part of our culture which is really based, as you were both alluding, in nature. It's based in nature, and that creates a certain spirituality, and that spirituality spawned this mythology, which is not in a religious kind of way, but more in a set of beliefs that nature and the space that surrounds us has forces and beliefs and entities and creatures that are not as much again a religious belief as they are just a set of tales that are cautionary often or about tradition or revealing about the life lessons that we all need to carry. And then very interestingly in the movie that you were in, which is called Sisu, it's the word Sisu describes the character of Finns, this sort of resilience that was highlighted in the Winter War and times like this unique resilience, which it's a word that is stronger than the word resilience. It's courage under fire, it's resilience, it's never say die attitude, but at the same time it applies to the way we carry out our endeavors, to the way we do defend our country and such. But we are, very proud people with that in mind. So anyway, it's a strong. So again, this is not a long sales pitch to come and travel to Finland, but we're weird. So when we connected, obviously we talked about Finland. We talked about the way this story kind of used Finnish mythology, but to offer it to a broad worldwide audience. And without revealing too much yet, how do you feel the story connected to what we want the people to know about Finland and about Finnish mythology, perhaps, or what are you hoping people might understand about Finland and the mythology?
Well, I think we live in a world where we know almost everything, or we think we know. We know the Greek gods, we know about the Viking gods, we know about all the religions that are there, no unexplored islands. But I think this film really does something, it reveals something undiscovered. And it takes us to a journey where people can actually start questioning what is Finland? Like, why is it the happiest country in the world? And what is the madness behind that happiness? Like, because there's always two sides to the story. So I think it's a very quirky, nice thing.
Yeah, I would add to that that with mythology, there's always mythology that, well, for me, the way I think about it is there's always external mythology, which is your Greek, your Roman, your Egyptian, those mythologies, and then there's the things that you believe about yourself and like your internal mythology. And that's something that I thought a lot about with this film is like, what are the beliefs that I have about myself that are either constructive or destructive? And how does a space that is in the middle of nature, that is so serene, almost to a fault, how does that space kind of internally as well allow you to explore those places, those internal mythologies the beliefs that you hold about yourself that are holding you back, or that push you to do something that you wouldn't normally do. So yeah, how kind of nature and the space that you have out in nature to explore yourself, how that can really affect your internal compass in a sense. Yeah.
And I would add that what are you willing to do for love? How far are you willing to go? Because, you know, love is the monster.
That's it. Title is plugged. We're done.
It is the best thing in the world, and it could be the worst thing in the world as well.
Well, let's talk about love because obviously this movie is when developing it, it was very interesting to explore the part of this mythology that is actually very little known by Finns as much as pretty much anyone. Our mythology is already not very known, but the love aspect of the love god that we have, god, goddess, it was actually more of a beaked creature in many tales, and in development became the sort of goddess that we know as Lempo. But it all stems from different beliefs that are very specific to us, and namely that love is not a feeling. Love is an energy. Love is an ambivalent energy between able to make us do things and in various ways. And that's a very Finnish way of thinking about love. It's about how does this life force guide our decisions. So think about love as an energy, as a life force, as a guiding component of our decision making. How does that inspire you on a daily basis?
Well, on a daily basis, I think for me it comes back to do unto others as you would have done unto yourself. It's if you act from love, you will receive love. I think it's very important to be intentional. I think with where you put that love, because in a way that I do believe that you are giving something from yourself. You are parting with something, but it's that kind of generosity that you want to make sure that you're intentionally putting it into things that are going to appreciate, that are going to treat it well, because there's nothing worse than putting your intentional, heartfelt love into something that then gets dashed. But I think that's also a part of life. It's like you think that that you think you're doing the best thing for yourself. You think you're doing the best thing for them. Like you think but you don't know. You never know. And that's kind of that you get to the edge of the cliff and then you just kind of have to take all your love and jump and hope that the wings carry in a sense. But you can only be guided by what you think you know. And I think that's the mystery of love, because love is a guiding force. It's love encompasses generosity. It encompasses, caring and maternity and all of these things. But I think if more people were intentional with where they put their love, whether it be positive, whether it be romantic or platonic or whatever it is, I think in the world we need more intentionality with love, because I think people put their love into things that are actually greed. and that becomes a monster.
Yeah, and that's very interesting
Yeah.
because obviously the intentionality of love is part of the topic of the movie. Although we put it in a horror movie context, and we turn the problem of those couples to 11, and we let love do its bidding intentionally, but with devastating consequences. And how scary is love?
Super scary because it can bring the worst or the best out of people. And interestingly enough, I've come to learn that love is often like in the different religious texts. Sometimes God is translated love, and vice versa. So I think it can be it's a very human thing that you know we all carry, and it's almost like you're one with God, whatever your God, whoever your God is. Like, who cares who's the prophet? Did you get the message? Like, treat others as you would like to be treated yourself. So I agree. I try to operate from the point of gratitude, and to me that's one form of love that I try to carry every day. But it's super scary when it feels overwhelming and you don't know where it's coming from. Like sometimes it can change you. It can change you to a different person, and it's a very overwhelming thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's overwhelming, and in those moments when it's overwhelming, then you have to make sure that you are still acting from a place of pure love and not love that's been contaminated by something else. Because it's very easy, I think, to become insecure, to kind of the love is not the pure white light anymore. If we want to put it into colors, like it gets muddy, and then the intention becomes muddy, and then the result becomes muddy, and then it that changes you, I think, as a person. I think if you can keep your intentions clear within yourself and with another person, then by communicating your intentions very clearly and meditating on that, and we have therapy and everything to make sure that we're clear on our intentions. But I think if we just go out into the world because everybody has a lot of love to give. I fully believe that everybody comes into this world filled with love, and then if you don't ever make your intentions clear to yourself, then you're just kind of, it feels like you're spewing it everywhere. And that, I think, becomes dangerous when you start kind of spreading things that you don't know what you're actually putting out into the world. And I think that's something very interesting in our film, because we get to see a lot of characters who spew in different ways, and they, so consequences, eh?
Yeah, and the consequences are going to be on screen and very, very brutal, actually. But when you actually heard that the movie was on the topic of love and was a horror movie, and you may had watched Sound of Violence by then, and decided that this was something to jump on board, how did you feel about the level of horror that we because I think that in all the things that we can't share yet, the one thing is that we can actually share is the promise of a pretty bonkers horror movie with rather, well, if you've seen Sound of Violence, you know that I'm not exactly holding back often when it comes to death. But how did you feel that horror kind of excite you or terrified you or made you think that I was a complete psychopath?
Do you want to go first?
I do want to go first. I freaking love horror films. So I was stoked when I got asked to be in one. I was like, the first thing I looked at is like, how does it end? Like, what happens to me? Like, all of these stuff. I was just like, oh, I want to see all the gory things. Like, I was like reading the script and looking at all the, this gore and that gore and whoa. Because I'm one of those those psychopaths who watches a horror film and then goes to bed and sleeps perfectly well. Apparently, it's a trauma response. So, talk to your therapist if you relate to that. But yeah, I was absolutely stoked. And the level of horror, the level of blood, I was just very excited to get sticky. And I had so much joy on set being sticky. Don't take that out of context.
The I I am super scared of horror. I can't watch a horror movie by myself. I always have to have somebody there, or at least lights on, or somebody on a video call or something. And I was happily surprised that doing horror is actually super fun. Like the crew was amazing. We laughed so much on set, and everybody was super nice and super talented. And it's a genre movie, but I think it's a movie for everybody, really. You know, like it's one of those movies that it's an entertaining movie. And I think you always still have to do your utmost best as an actor. You have to act like it's a drama. You know, you have to be serious about it, and be open to it, and 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 um, and not hide yourself. I literally was naked in this film, my first film I was naked in. So I turned myself in for this project. So yeah, I think that's important for an actor to actually
So,
commit.
a strong follow up to this for a very dedicated community of horror fans. What is your favorite horror movie? Oh, first, what was the first horror movie you watched, and what is your favorite horror movie?
The first horror film I ever watched was The Exorcist, and I thank my parents for that introduction. I think it was a good one,
Oh yes.
a classic one. My favorite horror film. Well, let's see. This
If
is
it's on the
hard.
violence, I get it. It's fine.
It's up there. My favorite horror film. Oh, look, I have a very special place in my heart for the original Nosferatu,
Oh yes.
but my guilty pleasure horror watch is the Conjuring trilogy, or the three first Conjuring films. It's just incredible how after probably 35 times watching them now, I still get spooked out. Like I still get spooked. And then yeah, no, that's my guilty pleasure. So I'll go with that
Or
one.
with what you said earlier, these are comfort films.
They're comfort films.
They're just oh, I can't go to bed. Well, I want to watch something.
Yeah.
Just play fun to
Yeah.
calm me down.
It's just that kind of person.
Soothing.
Yeah, very soothing. And because it does both. It's predictable as well now because I've seen it 35 times, but it still gives me the little heebie-jeebies that we all want so badly.
Oh yes, revisiting horror endlessly is always fun.
Well, my absolute favorite is Blair Witch Project. I saw that way too young, and I have not slept ever since.
And you use that energy in the movie.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do very much. Yeah, I am a huge fan of psychological horror and people in woods. So we're gonna be in woods in this film, and I love
Fair
it.
bit. Fair bit. It's and that your the first horror movie you watched as well?
I think so. I think so. Yeah.
Interesting.
And it's so interesting that we don't know. I think they released two versions of it. In one of them, there's a witch that we see at the very end, and in the other version, there is not. So there's this rumor around that people are like, "Did you see the witch at the end?" And people be
So,
like, "I
actually,
didn't see the witch."
Interestingly, so Blair Bathory, one of our two
Yeah.
hosts on this great show, who actually also co-wrote this film, went to Burkittsville where they shot the Blair Witch and
Yeah.
went to document and went to look for the witch and find out about the local customs. So there is a connection to the Blair Witch.
Oh.
But we Finns are not naturally making horror movies, and it's something that we're trying to push. We're trying to make more Finnish horror movie. Ideally, or my take is to make it for the international audience because I feel that we have a lot to share. But our ability to tell crazy stories from Finland. In your various circles and surrounding, how popular is horror around Finns?
Well, I watch a lot of horror movies, even though I'm scared of them. I think people consume horror movies a lot in Finland. I would say people are not necessarily scared of the woods, but we like to watch horror movies that happen in the woods. Like when Americans go into the woods, we're like, ha ha ha, what's gonna happen? They are scared of the woods. I have a wood, I got woods on my backyard. So there's that, and I don't know. People like horror movies, I think, in Finland in general.
Yeah, I think there is a sense of watching those Americans go into the woods and going, I would never do that.
Yeah,
What an idiot.
yeah.
But yeah, also because I feel like Finns spend a lot of time in the dark. So, I mean, maybe there's a correlation between enjoying darker films as well. I mean, Scandi Noir is also like there's always the dark atmosphere, like so maybe there's some kind of thing there. I don't know. I guess like if you live in a place that has two very kind of opposing seasons, well, I mean, obviously Finland is not good in 4 seasons, but like light wise, then you have those big oppositions, and I don't know what that does to your brain really, but it would make sense to me that people who live in a very dark climate can be geared towards watching more horror and enjoying suspense. And again, should probably talk to their therapists about that.
So let's talk about the making of this film, because we obviously shot it in Canada. They welcomed us warmly, and it looks very much like Finland, just bigger.
Yeah.
It's a very, very big Finland. We were surrounded by a wonderful crew, helmed by our amazing producer Laurence Gendron. And how did it feel to be in Finland in Canada? Did it feel like Finland? Because on pictures, I received a lot of messages. Are you in Finland? Are you shooting in Finland? We convinced relatably to the way Finland could, or the way Canada can pass for Finland. How did it feel for the both of you to shoot this story set in Finland in a wonderful host country of Canada?
Well, it's movie magic. On the first day at set, I was hanging by this pine tree, and I looked at the needles, the pine tree needles, and they way bigger than they are in Finland. And I was like, wait a minute, this is not Finland. But if you don't zoom into the pine trees like that, why would you? It's totally Finland. I mean, Ontario, I felt like home. Lakes, kind people, warm summer, forests, cabins. What's there not to like?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose I had not been back to Finland for a while, so it was interesting. The kind of image that I had of Finland was only in my head, and I didn't really remember how it felt. But yeah, like when we were on set, and there were certain sets that I was like, I could conceivably, yep, I do feel like I'm back home, like in my childhood. So I guess that was past completely for me, because I was like, it matched what I had in my head of my home when I was a small kid and by the lake. So I didn't really. It didn't stick out. Nothing really stuck out to me.
So one of the most enjoyable part of this process was, as well, with fellow Finns with different background. I mean, as a Finn who grew up abroad, I had a different perception of it all. I learned about Finland, visiting Finland most back and forth. I learned a lot more when I went to the army. And with your respective journey and the other Finnish actor, Milla Puolan-Kanaho, who plays Tina, the host of the retreat, we had a fun system of collaboration. Banter about, not just about my weird pronunciation of everything, but about like the various takes we have from Finland. What do you remember any of those stories, or any of perhaps everything from maybe the folk tales that we were talking about, the references that we have that we can share with some of our fans?
It's a dock, not a pontoon.
Oh, there you go. There you heard it. I kept calling it a pontoon.
Yeah.
I mean, they kept a pontoon is a boat versus a thing where we called it.
A dock is a thing that's docked.
Thank you. I did remember that.
I
learned. I adjusted to that.
Yeah, I just remembered that as well. It just came back to me. It's like, oh yes,
I kept calling everything a pontoon.
yes. Anything that was do you have something in mind? I'll let you go first if you have something in mind. I just came in with a dog really hard.
I mean, you research for some of the things that we can't quite go, but you delve deep into mythology.
Yeah, we wanted to look into some of the mythology for real, and we did quite a research, two of us, into the ancient spells and stuff, and I think for an actor it's really important to do your pre-research, whatever the role is. Do you want to continue?
Yeah, it's just now we're talking about that because I'm gonna forget. Yeah, no, when we were researching the kind of ancient Kalevala spells as well, and you were so good about being collaborative on the writing and stuff like that. So it was a real joy to kind of come in with our ideas and then to have you go, yes, no, maybe we'll try it, which is totally fair. But it was nice to feel like an actual collaborator and not just kind of like, okay, now you spurt blood and die. But yeah, that was really awesome. And looking into the history and really there was even there was some recordings, old recordings of people singing and speaking these spells, and that was really fascinating to kind of hear how people spoke those words. And because in Finnish mythology there's a huge emphasis on words speaking things into being, and that if you say something, then it exists. So that's kind of the magic of this spell. So it was kind of, it really made the hair on the back of my neck stand up when we were, on set, and because everything looked so amazing, and then to speak those words, and then sometimes it would start to rain or the clouds would clear, and you're just like, maybe I'll be super careful about what I choose to speak in certain situations. And like I at that point I was like, I must make offerings before we shoot certain scenes. No, I was serious. I was like, we were at the
built a
lake.
superstition on set, and that's
And I
very
was
interesting
like-
because it's very much the interaction that you had specifically with that story was you became a sort of priestess of it all.
Yeah, I'm a believer. No, I before we shot certain scenes, I would go and say a few words and pour some libations and go, whatever is said here is not intended to offend or to do anything to anybody. Please, if somebody is out there, please ignore us. We're just trying to do a good
Just
job.
fooling around.
Yeah, we're just having fun over here. So
And,
don't kill anyone. For
and
us.
you also introduced us to throat singing.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I spent some time with the Sami people that are the indigenous people up north in Scandinavia, and some of them taught me a little bit about. They have yoiku, so I can't do yoiku because I'm not a Sami, but it's very close to throat singing. So, but you created this collaborative space. You allowed us to bring in a new idea almost every day. Like, hey, can I use this spell? Can I use this throat singing thing? And I swear to God, storms started gathering. So I don't know if if it was a good thing or not, but eventually we awoke something in the nature. And I remember this one day after a spell, a huge thunderstorm started gathering. So that was pretty scary stuff. I don't know who did the spell, but
We definitely awakened some spirits during the shoot. There was actually a strong feeling that our second set especially, was somehow haunted. It had an amazing backstory as well. It was an old swimming training camp, and one of the stories the owner told us was the story of this boy who this very shy boy who was bullied, and then one day another kid playing with him, they went swimming. He started to drown. The other kid thought he was going to get into trouble, so he went to hide. So the kid drowned, and that kid haunts the place. And this is the most Jason Voorhees origin story I have ever heard, without it being Jason Voorhees. So it's very interesting because we always felt that. You remember there was a building that nobody was allowed to go in, and I swear I saw a shape in one of the windows. it was the whole place was very much alive. So when we were then out there telling our spells and having nature reacting so much,
Ah.
we are not crazy. We are, well, maybe we are, but you're gonna have to watch the movie and decide for yourself when to see if we did awaken something deeper, and that soon there's going to be a documentary about everything we awakened there. So let's talk about an anecdote. Perhaps each of us want to leave our fans with something spooky, something funny, something crazy, something, be gentle with me, something that will perhaps, in all the interest we hope you have to watch this crazy journey that we're going to take you on. What is your dinner table anecdote that you share?
Well, what is my little anecdote that I'm going to share? I don't know if it was the icy cold lake that you made us swim in, but you're going to certainly see something little on the screen when I take my towel off.
Oh,
But I had the most amazing time with this crew, and I've never visited some place so scary. In the woods, there was literally a tree where we saw flesh, animal flesh, like hanging out like an offering spot, and nobody of us did that tree. So that place was truly scary. So
I had to store my snacks somewhere. Sorry.
yeah, okay. So it was you. What about you?
I guess going back to the thing about language, working on this film changed the way that I think about what I speak and how I speak to the world. And so I would encourage everyone to watch it and see how it changes how you speak of yourself and of the world, because words really do carry a lot of magic. And I think, yeah, this film changed my life in a way, one way or another. And I hope that you allow it to change yours. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to leave you with my little anecdote, which is that as a Finn from outside, writing and developing this story was quite the journey. And then when I went to shoot it, I genuinely saw things. And obviously, as a good director, it's great to see things. But the feeling constantly, because I arrived every morning at around 6 a.m. on set. I love being the first person on set. We had people watching our set overnight, and I was the one actually telling them to go home. And I was arriving with my breakfast and just sitting there, taking in the lakes and feeling all this energy. And everything that I had written in the script felt that there was a realistic context attached to it. So my little anecdote is every morning I had this sort of spiritual encounter with each of our location, and it spurred me on to direct each scene, hopefully the best of my ability, but also to bring the story. We are going to live it there. Love is the Monster is on the market. Again, the story of a retreat where couples go to deal with their problem, a retreat in Finland where a goddess of love changes everything, turns those couples' problem to 11. Expect a dark comedy in the way we address love, but expect a really crazy journey when the horror kicks off. So, welcome to Finland. Thank you, Christina. Thank you, Tatu.
Thank you.
Scare you later.